This is the 14th of December 2010, and this is the log number 1 for the resin kit of Nazuna, articulated resin kit record. So this is what I'm trying to build, and this is what I have right now. As you can see, this is actually still only in part and in resin form, and that is all of the basic resin parts that I have to work with. There's quite a number of them, and at the same time there's also a lot of joints, as you can see here. What I have done for the last 2 days is to cut out some of the tabs on some of the parts, and actually file some of them down as well, so that I remove some of the tabs on the back, etc., so that you get the basic shape. I haven't actually removed all of the seam line and haven't actually smoothened the surface yet, but those will come later. The other thing that will actually require works to do is, according to instruction, is to installing the joints. Most of the joints this kit is going to use are not actually the standard size. They actually have a list of joints here, some of them made by Wave, some of them made by Hobby Base. The kind people from EU2046 has actually molded all of the joints in polystyrene for you, just so that you don't actually have to buy it. Unfortunately, not all of them are as good as I want. Some of them are a bit loose, and it will require a lot more work to actually make them work. And in either case, all of the joints will require some sort of modification, like trimming down the peg or actually thinning out the ball joints to actually make them fit and make them looking good. So there's a lot of work to do, and not to mention that all of these holes are not actually perfectly sized to actually make them work right away. And as I said before, because the polystyrene that EU2046 using is not actually perfect, what I have done is I actually bought some of the joint already, and I only got the first pack because this pack I actually got ages ago when I was buying it for something else. It just so happened that this is one of the pack that is usable, and that is the ball joint section in flash color as well, which is a good thing because the one listed in here are the black one. So it's good that I actually got a flash color one already. That will save me a bit of time in some of the places. So this is not actually a good angle to show you how much work is going to happen. So let's have a quick look at all of the parts that need to be worked on. Unfortunately, for some of the bigger parts, such as the skirt here, because they're big parts, when they're being casted, they actually warp slightly, so they're not actually fitting perfectly. Good thing is I can actually use hot water to soften them and trying to mold them back into shape. And as you can see, this is the long skirt and this is the short skirt. In both cases, they actually expect you to put the swallowtail piece on top of it. Unfortunately, I only got one set of swallowtail, and there is 2 skirts. So I have a feeling that I might have to do some modification to make sure the swallowtail part is actually removable from both of the skirts. As you can see, that's the amount of part for the legs. And as we move up, we see the lower waist, the lower hip, the waist joint, and the chest and the body armor. You can see the neck is a separate piece, the head, the hair are a separate piece. The helmet is an add-on piece that can actually go on top instead of a actual head swapping. Each of the shoulder joint is composed of 3 parts, which links to the arm, which also in several pieces. It's a pretty comprehensive, pretty well part separation, so that any part that require a flesh color is actually separate to any part that is using clothes color or armor color. As you can see, these are the waist armor, those are the shoulder armor. That's body armor, the shoulder inner armor. And to round it off, they also got some cloth and some wire, some thread for the sleeves. So that's about it. Oh, also the sword. The long sword, which is composed of a blade and the 2 half of the sheaths, and the scabbard and the sword guard. And the short sword, which is composed of more or less the same, except the sword guard is actually separate, and the handle and the sword and the blade itself is actually one piece. In both cases, the sword are actually warped. Not to mention, neither of the scabbard is actually thick enough for the blades to go in. So I will have to make a decision as to whether to keep the sword in the scabbard or keep the scabbard and the sword separate and never have the sword sieve into the scabbard itself. Oh, by the way, there's 3 screws here as well, mainly for the hip joints. So yeah, that's it really. There are more joints coming in, and at the meantime, I'm going to try to file some of the parts, trying to pre-drill some of the joints, and then all of the parts will go into a wash. So that's it really for the first block. See you in the next update.